JDs and Lilliman, welcome to my bare face. Honestly, that dude, anytime he pops up on my For You page, just makes my day. He just likes to see how many things can hold him, like pasta. Or condoms. Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Skye, and today we are going to be doing an in-depth base routine video. This video was actually a recommendation from one of you guys on my community tab, Old T, and in their comment they mentioned they'd like to see like get ready with me's, doing looks with specific palettes, and how to do your base and cheek makeup. And I thought that that was really interesting because I don't think I've actually done like an in-depth base routine, at least like not anything newer. I might have done one like years ago. Now I do have oily acne prone skin. I am the most oily in my T-zone and also like around like this area of my cheeks. And despite having oily skin, I don't like having super mattified skin. I just feel like it just doesn't give enough dimension. I kind of want to look like I have a natural glow, but not like overtly shiny, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna show you how I achieve that look. So I'm actually gonna zoom you in quite close just so you can really see my skin texture. I do have some acne scarring on my cheeks. It is a lot better than it used to be, and I mostly break out on my chin, as you can see. I also have like a cluster of acne scars here too. I used to deal with really bad acne when I was like a young teenager, up until I think I was about like 19. And even though my skin isn't perfect, it is my skin, and you know, skin has texture, as you can see. This is what we're working with. I do apologize if you're watching this on like a big TV or like widescreen monitor because, hello. I don't think anybody wants to see me this close. First things first, before we start anything, we gotta put a bit of lip balm on, so I am gonna use the Glossier Coconut Balm.com. I like these lip balms. They're nice. They're just a lip balm. Are they the best, considering their price? No. Did I buy them years ago because I wanted to be an aesthetic Glossier girly pop? Yes. And I like coconut. But in my opinion, Burt's Bees is just as good, and it's literally like $3. Now, a lot of these products you've seen me use, but I'm really going to walk through how I do this. So first we're going to be priming with the NYX Plump Right Back Plumping Serum Primer with electrolytes. I don't know what the electrolytes are doing on my skin, but they're doing something. I guess. I absolutely love this primer. It is a repurchase for me. I do about a pump and a half, and that is the consistency of it. It does look quite suspicious. I'm sorry, Mum, if you're watching this video. This primer is really hydrating and like just feels really good on my skin. And I don't really like mattifying primers all that much, to be honest. I just find that they tend to dry out my skin, and I do get like dry patches around like my acne and acne scarring, and mattifying primers tend to like accentuate that, and no one wants that. I don't want to have like little crusty skin bits. And despite this not keeping my oils under control, it does a really good job at leaving your base really tacky. I feel like an equivalent of this, I don't think it's a dupe, but I feel like the Milk Hydro Grip Primer or like the e.l.f. like Jelly Pop Primer. I really want to try the e.l.f. one, but e.l.f. products tend to break out my skin, so I'm scared. Although it is a cheaper option because, I mean, this line from NYX, it's like 15 quid. Like, that's not drugstore anymore, I'm sorry. When I think drugstore, I think £11 and under. And while the primer sinks in and gets tacky, the combination that I love to use when I do a full face of makeup is this. I used to exclusively only use the Auric Glow Lust. I have the shade Selenite. I have had this for like 3 years. I absolutely love it. It's such a multi-use product. Think of like the e.l.f. Halo Glow or the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I've not tried the other options, but I feel like Glow Lust is the best option purely because, like, first of all, it's so luxurious. It's really expensive though, like that's a massive downside, but it is really luxurious, frosted glass bottle. The shade range is fucking fantastic. I think it's the best shade range out of the 3 options. And yeah, Selenite is the second lightest shade, I think. This is just a hydrating, glowy luminizer, and I like to mix it in with the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Blurring Skin Tint. I'm in the shade 2. Now this is a very liquidy, mattifying skin tint, so if you have oily skin, this is gonna be for you. It's not super drying matte, it's more of like a demi-matte finish, but I feel like if you have dry skin, this might not be the one for you. You gotta give it a nice good shake. And what I do is that I like squeeze out, I usually squeeze out a shitload, I'm not gonna lie. I prefer having more than less. So I squeeze out that amount of the Fenty. And then I do about a pump of the Auric Glow Lust, just to kind of like thicken it up a little bit. About a pump. Should we do another one? Yeah, let's do a pump and a tiny bit. As you can see, the Auric Glow Lust has a thicker consistency, and then I just mix them two on the back of my hand, and together they create a really good shade for me. And I don't know if you can see the glow on there slightly. Then I like to apply a bit on my finger and just spread it out. I like to work in sections just because then I can really control how much I put on. And this looks scary, but we will be blending it out with a sponge. I've got foundation under my nails. The one downside to growing out my natural nails. Shit gets under them and it's fucking gross. And I'm gonna be blending this out with my sponge. This is from Lottie London. I really like the Lottie London sponge. I think it works beautifully. I just like to bounce that into my skin. I'll do half of my face and then you can see like the comparison to the other half. I find that the Auric Glow Lust adds a little bit of coverage because the Fenty skin tint is like a light medium coverage, I'd say, more so light. And with my nose I like to rub it in a little bit and then just smooth it out. I do also use brushes with this, but I prefer the effect of a sponge. It's just that I don't always have a clean sponge all the time, because I think we all know I'm shit at cleaning my sponges. And don't forget this area right here and down the neck. Don't want to forget that. As you can see, this is a comparison of like my face with nothing and then my face with the Glow Lust and the Eaze Drop skin tint on. I just think that this looks really nice. It kind of evens out my skin without adding too much, and it adds like a really nice healthy glow. Cancels out a bit of my redness. I just think it's a lovely combination. So now I'm just gonna do the other side. Something really soothing about applying base makeup. It's just like meditative. Meditative. I have a pretty high prescription, so even though I'm looking in the mirror that's like next to me, I have no idea if things are being blended. And I know some people like to blend foundation on their lips. That is like one of the worst things for my like sensory overload. Like foundation on the lips and just, ooh! It's a massive makeup ick for me. I'm so sorry if you do it. I just think it's fucking weird. I also find that the Fenty skin tint has like blurring properties to it, which is really nice, especially for my nose. It kind of conceals all of the blackheads I've got going on. Welcome to my ASMR channel. And yeah, in a lot of my videos, I don't wear like a complete full face. Like I don't wear this combination all the time, purely because I just don't want to like constantly have things on my, like on my, all over my face. I like to give my skin breaks with like just concealer and primer. But if I'm like doing something exciting, going out, or if I just want to feel extra fabulous, this is what I do. I'm gonna give you a nice up close shot of everything before we apply concealer and powder. Now for concealer, I have talked about this concealer ad nauseum. I fucking love it, right? I absolutely love this. This was like the best find of 2023. This is the NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum. I am in the shade Light, the second lightest shade. This is so good, like, as concealer. It's so good all over your face too. Like, this is my second bottle of it. I fucking love this stuff. But again, it's quite expensive for the drugstore. I don't know what's going on with NYX. Why are you so expensive now? One of you guys actually told me that they had like a foundation version of this, but they discontinued it, which I am absolutely heartbroken that I never got to try, because I feel like if the concealer version is so good, I just dropped it. The foundation would be even better. I'm just gonna pump a tiny bit on my hand, like not even a full pump, This is quite liquidy. Normally I do a full pump if I'm not wearing any foundation, but because we already have a base, I'm just going to do a tiny bit. And I first like to apply it like that. And then just spread it out a tiny, tiny bit. I don't like to put on a lot of concealer once I already have everything else. And then I'm just gonna blend that in. And this, again, is one of those, like, nicely hydrating concealers, but not too hydrating that it's, like, gonna be greasy on your under eyes. I do find that this does crease on my under eyes, however, every single concealer I try does, so I just think it's inevitable. I feel like people shouldn't be going on about, like, things need to be creaseless, because, like, your face naturally has creases. It's gonna go into the lines of your face. Yeah, I don't do any color correcting or anything. I used to when I had really bad acne. However, I just don't think I need it now. I feel like my skin is pretty alright. I could, like, color correct my under eyes and my acne scarring if I really wanted to, but I find that I don't like to put too many layers on, especially with acne scarring and, like, especially with acne scarring, because scar tissue and, like, scarred skin is just a different texture to, like, regular skin. So, like, stuff doesn't really stick to it much anyway. I might put, like, the excess, like, I might just grab the rest and then just, like, tap it over, like, just to give a slight bit of coverage. Now, powder is probably the second most important step, second to setting spray, which we will get to at the end. And the powder that I have used for years, and I am shocked that I have not finished this. I'm actually kind of close to finishing it. It's the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Instant Retouch Setting Powder in the shade Butter. This powder is very beat up, as you can see by the packaging, but if you have oily skin, this powder is a godsend. It is quite blurring, and it also sets your makeup so fucking well and keeps your oils at bay. It's bloody lovely. And I like to take this brush. This is from e.l.f. It's a really old blush brush. I think they still sell this. It's part of their, like, old, like, original brush line. And even though it's a blush brush, I love to use it for powder because it has the perfect, like, cone edge, if that makes any sense. And I like to take most of the powder and just do the under eyes. And I like to powder my whole face, and you might think that's quite counterproductive considering this is a mattifying powder and we put on a glowy product on our skin, but the rest of my face, I mainly, like, set, like, my T-zone and, like, small lines under eye, and, like, they're the main areas that I put the most powder. Everywhere else I just put a light layer. And the reason why I say that I set my smile lines is because I have quite deep set smile lines. They're not really that visible on camera, but I always get foundation, like, sinking in to these lines. It was one of my biggest insecurities for a long time. I mean, I didn't like my smile for most of my life until, like, a couple years ago, and even now I still get a bit insecure about it, but I'm trying to learn to love it because I have a really nice smile, according to Greg. So yeah, I'm just setting my forehead now because I do get quite moist up there. And then I'm just taking a light bit of powder and then just dabbing it on the rest of my face. I feel like even though I've set everything in place, you can still see that there's, like, a nice, like, natural shine to my face, and we're going to be adding a lot more glow back in with the rest of the cheek products. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to fake freckles. Now, I know not everyone likes to do fake freckles, but this is just something that I do every time I do my makeup, and currently I use the Nabla Freckle Freckle pen. I do prefer ones that have a brush tip, like the Kimchi Chic Flower Girl fake freckle pen. I prefer brush tips. This one is kind of like a firm stick foam tip applicator. I find that the freckles don't look as natural with this one, but it's what I have, so I'm just going to use it up. I think the next one that I'm going to try after this is the Lottie London one, because Lottie London's quite accessible for me, and they're UK based, and they're cheap. But yeah, for my freckles, I actually need to see, so let me get a mirror. So I don't really know how to explain this. I kind of just dot on mostly on my nose, and then I immediately pat these out just to make them really diffused. I like to make some bigger and darker, but I find that just applying a few like that and then patting it out, you do create like a lot of small ones because you're spreading the pigment. I like to focus the majority of them on my nose because I actually do naturally get freckles. As a kid, I grew up in Australia and of course the sun's always beaming down on you. And I would have so many freckles in this area, and anytime I look at myself with freckles, I just think of myself, like I feel the most myself in them. And during the summer here, I also do get freckles, but I just don't leave the house as much as I probably should. What can I say? I just like my bedroom. I like my own space. So yeah, I am one of those people that does naturally get freckles, but I always draw them on. Even in the summer, I still draw them on because they're just not the same as I was as a kid. And to be fair, my freckles always change. Like, sometimes I do less freckles, sometimes I do a lot more. A lot of the time, I do them on my forehead as well. I like to bring them up, like, in this zone. I think today I'm just gonna leave them on my nose and cheeks because this is just, like, the standard that I always do. I am actually having a lot of fun filming this video. Normally in my videos, I always skip over my base makeup, especially in, like, Get Ready With Me's. I'm, like, talking the most as I'm doing my base because I'm, like, I don't know. I just feel like base is so different for everybody that it's kind of, like, I feel like it's the least interesting to watch, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys like watching them, because to be fair, I like watching people do their base. I think it's super soothing. One thing creators never show you if they do fake freckles is the fact that your finger always looks really fucking gross afterwards. Like, ew. And the reason why I like doing freckles right after I do powder is because I like to go in with bronzer afterwards, and I find that it makes everything mesh together a lot better. And I use the Nabla Skin Bronzing Bronzer in the shade Ambra. This is my second one. If you want to know what my first one looks like, yeah. If you have a light olive skin tone like I do, this is the perfect one for you because it has like the nice olive undertone to it. It's like both olive and also has a bit of like an ochre yellowness to it. And this bronzer is wonderful because you can just go in with your brush so severely. And this is a brush that I have used since I was like, I don't know, 15? It's still going strong. It's not gonna die. But this is one of those bronzers you can really just like grab a shitload, and then I like to work in circular motions and hold my brush like towards the end of the handle because that gives you a lot more freedom. The more concentrated you want the pigment, the closer you should hold to the ferrule of your brush. Well, I guess you should be holding the ferrule of your brush if you want the most pigment, the most density. But because I want my bronzer to be very diffused, I like to hold it towards the back, and I keep it really high on my cheekbones. But this bronzer formula is one of those that you can just whack on, and you don't really need to worry about what it's gonna look like. It's very effortless. It has a slight glowiness to it, which I really like. Yeah, I keep my bronzer nice and far up on my cheeks. And you gotta make sure you blend it in with your hairline as well because, yeah, I used to not do that for a very long time, an embarrassingly long time, and you could just see, like, the clear line of no bronzer and then my hair. It's not as bad when you have dark hair, but when I had blonde hair, anyway, back to the base routine. I like to take a little bit of bronzer, tap it off on the back of my hand, and then just kind of like brush it on my nose on the sides. I don't do nose contouring, mostly because I don't know how, and I'm scared. I've tried it once, and I made my nose look even more like a penis, and I don't really want to do that. I don't really like to draw attention to my nose. My nose is another thing that I've always been a bit insecure about. It reminds me of the Animal Crossing, like, the Animal Crossing Wild World Kaylee, like that character. Her nose was just a triangle. It reminds me of that. And you know what, that's actually quite, you know what? She was a bad bitch. She was always the character that I chose, even though she had a triangle nose. So you know what? Fuck it, I've got the Animal Crossing nose. That's nice. And I'm also going to be putting this under my jawline, only a tiny bit because, again, and blending it on my neck as well. Only a little bit because I don't want to have a harsh brown line. Again, something I used to do when I was a teenager, and nobody told me it looked fucking weird. For blush, this always changes. I am a blush fiend. I always change the blush that I use like every day. And as I was getting everything ready for this video, I was like, shit, what blush do I feature? Because I have so many options. And I thought I would do a combination that I really like doing, and it kind of gives you the best of both worlds of like cream and powder. So first we're gonna go in with the About Face Cheek Freak Blush Balm in the shade Raunchy. This, I love the packaging of this, like, and this is a solid proper peach colour, and I like to take this on my finger. This blush balm formula is very creamy and emollient. I'm actually going to use both fingers. And this formula is actually very easy to work with. So normally if I'm using a cream blush, I like to use the Made by Mitchell MF4 brush. This is so good at blending out like any cream liquid blush, but for this one, because I find that this formula isn't very pigmented and it is quite wet, using my fingers works a bit better on my cheekbone. So where you would normally highlight, that's where I place my blush. And you may be thinking, Skye, you put powder on your face and you're putting cream on top of the powder. What the hell? Yes. I don't change my routine for any makeup product. If you're a cream or liquid blush, you need to be able to work on top of powdered skin, or I'm not gonna fucking like you. I know who I am, and I ain't changing for any product. And this blush, for me, is a very subtle blush, and it does have a lovely, like, glowiness to it because it is a cream blush, and for most people, this would be enough blush. Not for me though. Whenever I use this About Face blush, as much as I really like it, especially when I want to have like days where I'm not wearing as much blush and I just kind of want a little something on my cheeks, those days aren't super often, but they exist. But if I want a super Skye blush heavy moment, I will be layering blushes together, or I will be applying an obscene amount of powder blush. And I like to bring my blush up to my temples and do a bit of blush draping. I find that with my oval face shape, it just works really nicely. It kind of just like snatches me. This is also a tip I learned from drag queens. A lot of the makeup tips that we follow in the modern day are taken from drag queens, so have some respect for your drag besties out there. Now with cream blush, I don't like to apply it on my nose because it will break up very easily on my nose, especially because it's oily, I wear glasses, and yeah, it's just a recipe for disaster, so I tend to just leave my nose. If you like a nice, like, regular amount of pigment in your cream blushes, I really recommend the About Face blush balms. Even though I have oily skin, I don't find that they break up super easily. They do stay a little bit tacky on your cheeks, even when they do like set. So that's why I always like to set this with powder. And the blush that I love pairing this with is the CoverFX Monochromatic Blush Duo in the shade Soft Peach. And can we tell which side I like to use? I love this blush so much. It was a gift from a friend, and it's one of my most used blushes in my collection. I love it. So we're going to be taking the matte side, and this is essentially a powder version of the blush balm. So if you want a powdered version, CoverFX ones, but buy them on sale. Don't buy them full price. They are very overpriced for what they are. And I like to take this on a really big brush. This is the EcoTools blush brush, and we can see that I'm holding my brush quite closely because I want to maximize the pigment. And I like to pat my blush. First I'm going to pat it quite gently on top of the blush balm just to make sure that it's set, and then we'll be doing like more layering and swiping. But I think I'll do one cheek at a time so you can see the difference. Hopefully you can see a difference on camera, because I definitely see a difference in person. And this is a blush combo that I do when I really want to have like a lot of blush, but I don't want it to look like a lot of blush. I don't know, this is my subtle blush routine. But this is the side with the CoverFX blush layered on top of the blush balm, and then this is the side without it. This is like a more natural side, I would say, and this is just more of a like bam side. Again, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's what I really like, and I think it really suits my face. And I am going to be taking that matte blush shade, and I'm going to be squeezing my brush so it's kind of like a that shape, a fan shape, and I'm gonna be placing this on my nose. Now because this blush is quite light, it will not be super intense on my nose, but today I don't really want a super intense blush on the nose. I just want a bit, just because it makes sense with all the freckles there. And then I also like to apply a bit of blush on my chin, just to kind of make everything uniform. Now the penultimate step is highlighter. Now usually my highlighter, I adjust it to whatever type of look that I do. A lot of the time, whatever inner corner highlight I'm also using that on my cheeks. But if we're talking about like my everyday, we're just doing very simple makeup, we just want to put on a bit of highlighter, I would use one of these two. So first is an All Reliable, and this one I'm pretty sure is discontinued. I don't know if they even have a version like this, but this is the Colourpop Super Shock Cheek Pearlized in Moon Peach. This came out with the Avatar collection, the first one. I got this in PR like ages ago. It's one of the few things that I actually kept from that collection, and this surprised me so much. I feel like we all know my thoughts and opinions on Colourpop. They're not really a brand for me, but I can't lie to you and say that this is one of my favourite highlights ever to exist. Because it is that Super Shock formula, it's nice and squishy and putty-like, and it is just a beautiful champagne with a blue shine running through it. It's not super intense, it blends perfectly into my skin, and it's just gorgeous. I think this is the one we're going to use today. But because it is, you know, no longer available, I do want to show off my other favourite highlighter, and this is from Nabla. This is their Skin Glazing highlighter in the shade Ozone, the lightest shade. This highlighter is just gorgeous to look at. Like, that is just so luxe and luxurious, and this is a baked formula, so this is really easy to go like pretty natural but also really ham. Same with the Colourpop one, like they're both very versatile in that sense. You can really control what kind of pigment you want. I'm gonna swatch Ozone right next to it. Ozone is like a proper nice champagne highlighter. There's not really any glitteriness to it. It is just like a smooth sheen on your cheeks, and if you have like a light olive skin tone like me, I think even if you're paler than me, you could still get Ozone to work. This one right here is Ozone, this one right here is the Colourpop one. They're just both so beautiful. I'm genuinely surprised I've not hit pan in this. Like, it's shocking. And my highlighter, I like to apply it on the highest point of my cheeks and just tap it in. I usually like to use my fingers with most of my makeup products, and it may look like a bit of a harsh line right now, but we will like blend over it. I'm gonna do the same to the other side. I just love that it has the blue shine in it. So yeah, that's Moon Peach on the cheeks right there. It is gorgeous. I'm gonna be also applying some of this on the bridge of my nose, right in the middle. Blend that out with my finger, and on the tip of my nose. Kind of giving Rudolph. This probably isn't the most flattering for my nose shape, but who cares? I don't think makeup always needs to be flattering, and I'm also putting some on my Cupid's bow. And because there's a little bit of like a line in between where the blush meets the highlighter, I like to go back in with my blush brush and just tap over the edges. Right, so I'm gonna go off camera, do the rest of my makeup, and we'll be back to do the final step. I'm just gonna do some really simple makeup. Like, it's gonna be nothing interesting. Alright, I am back with the finished look. If you're curious about what I used, for my eyes, I really just did mascara, inner corner highlight, and waterline. That's all I did. But if you want to know what I used, for my inner corner I used my beloved Shine by SD and SeekingShifts Ice Blink single shadow. This is just such a good shadow. It has the blue sparkles, it has the peachy orange. For my mascara, I used the Lottie London Super Fake mascara. You can really see what it looks like on my lashes when I've got nothing else on, and it just makes me look like I have lashes. And for my waterline, I used my beloved LA Girl Pastel Dream Auto Liner in the shade Marshmallow. It's the best white eyeliner. I also put a bit of eyeshadow primer on my eyes. I used the Alter Ego eyeshadow primer because my eyes do get quite oily, so I need to have something there in order to stop the oils from coming through. And for my lips, I used an old favourite. This is the Odens I Kiss of a Fairy lipstick, the Velvet lipstick formula in the shade Light Peach. I have rediscovered my love for this lately and I just can't stop wearing it. And yeah, my camera battery is dying, so I'm talking a little bit fast, but the final step to make sure that this looks good for the entire day, and this is the kind of makeup that actually looks better as time wears on, but if I want it to look really lovely the entire day, I put a shit ton of my Urban Decay All That Is setting spray. This is my old bottle with like the tiniest amount of product left because I accidentally left my new Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray at Greg's place. So that's a big oops. I'm gonna see if I can get anything out of this. So we just... ah yes. Nothing. Okay, my camera battery died and I quickly charged it, and we have to work quickly because this is gonna die any second now. This makeup has been on my face for about an hour now, and this is what everything looks like all together. I kind of failed with the all-nighter setting spray. It would look a little bit more fresh and nicer if I used it properly. I feel like there's a bit of foundation settling into these lines right here, but that's normal, and I just think everything looks so flawless and beautiful. Like, this is such simple makeup for me. I'm actually letting my skin have its moment for once because, like, it just looks so good! But anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do let me know, what's your base makeup routine? Are there any tips that you'd recommend for someone with oily skin? Because I am down to try out some new techniques, even though I feel like I've got this base kind of on lock and key. If you'd like to see more makeup content from me, you can follow me on my Instagram. It's Fairy Skye right here. I post all my looks there and I'm active on there every single day. If you'd like to support me further, I do have my own small business, Rain Cloud Candles Co. We're a small queer-owned business based in the UK, and we make handmade candles and wax melts. The link to shop will be down below, along with our social media if you'd like to support us. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to have you here. And as always, stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!